This is a mock interview conducted by Forum IAS Academy at New Delhi. The interview panel includes eminent academicians, retired bureaucrats, and other luminaries. The objective of the program is to acquaint the candidate with the format and expectations of the personality test conducted by UPSC.
May I come in, sir? Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon.
Please. Take your seat.
Thank you, sir.
This is your fifth attempt, Ramin?
Yes, it's my fifth attempt. My first interview.
And did you ever qualify for interview?
No, sir. It will be my first interview, sir.
First interview.
Sir.
And how many times did you qualify for the mains?
Sir, I've given mains 4 times.
4 times.
Yes, sir.
And this is the 4th time?
Yes.
And first interview?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And Sanskrit literature is your optional?
That's right, sir.
I think you are the exception. First time we are interviewing a person having Sanskrit.
Yes.
Okay. And you are working in Mumbai?
Sir, I used to be working. I worked for a year. Then I quit my job and I've been preparing full time, sir.
Now you are full time prepared?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So, Ramendra,
sir,
why civil services? You were getting good pay for pass out.
Yes.
Why civil services?
Sir, my father is an IPS officer. And so I've seen that while growing up, apart from the law and order functions, he would do a lot of developmental work. For example, water harvesting structures for the farmers or creating self-help groups for the women. So, sir, there's a huge scope for developmental administration in the civil services, and that is what I want to do, and I see it as my calling in life. So I've always wanted to join the services. The job I joined because I got a day one placement. It was a very good job offer, and I want to gain experience of the corporate sector, sir.
Okay. So you have seen your father working in a government sector, and you yourself has worked in a private sector.
Sir.
So what kind of difference do you observe in work culture of both the sectors?
So firstly, I'll talk about technology because the private sector uses technology a lot. Because I was a product manager and I was in charge of the app, and we used to do a lot of data analytics and evidence-based decision making like A/B tests. So that is a bit more needed in administration right now. So secondly, I would say that the administration has a lot more power in terms of providing public health, public education, food distribution, etc. So thirdly, I would say that the private sector is all about customer satisfaction and customer experience. And right now, I think public delivery should also move towards citizen satisfaction also in that respect.
Okay. So what basically you told me was what are the functions of government sector and what are the functions of... I'm asking you difference in the work culture.
Difference in the work culture, like technology, in administration, a lot of it is still paper-based. A lot of file pushing goes on, and a lot of times files may get misplaced also. So, technology needs to be implemented. That is number one work culture I saw. So, secondly, in terms of work culture, profit motive is also there in the private sector. And in public sector, it's more towards service orientation. And third, I would again say, sir, that there is such a huge power gap between the citizen and administration. They don't go for citizen satisfaction as such because they are at a higher position. And in terms of public sector, they go for best experience for the customer experience and customer satisfaction.
Okay. You are also co-founder of Zepcon.
Yes, sir. That's a startup.
So what exactly does this startup do?
So I actually tried to solve a problem I saw because there used to be a communication gap between students and teachers. So sometimes when the student's attendance would go below 75%, he would automatically get deregistered from the subject. So sir, we built a platform where the teachers could take attendance, give out marks on the app, and students could check their performance on the app itself. So that was one particular problem we tried to solve.
Okay. So this is kind of attendance system.
Attendance, marks,
marks also.
Sort of that, yeah. Yes, sir.
Okay. And your hobbies include organic farming.
Yes, sir, that's right.
So you do farming yourself or?
Yes, sir. I grow my own vegetables, sir. We have a kitchen garden. Because especially, sir, in chemical farming, there are a lot of residues which are carcinogenic. And also nutrition-wise, organic food is better, sir.
Okay. So recently, some changes has been proposed through a bill, Criminal Procedure Identification Bill. Have you heard about this bill?
Yes, I've read about it.
Can you elaborate on this and why it is being opposed by some people?
So the bill is about collecting biological data and biometric data of the prisoners, sir, by the police and the prisons. So, sir, it will help in better identification of the criminals. For example, sir, right now, the conviction rate is very low. It is around 49%. So, we need to move towards forensic and evidence-based policing. So, it will help in that, better identification of criminals, terrorists, etc. So, that was the bill. We are collecting data like fingerprints data, iris data, facial recognition data. And sir, it is being opposed in some sections because number one, it may be seen as an infringement of privacy of an individual, given in light of the recent Puttaswamy case, where it was a fundamental right. So, sir, secondly, there are also some provisions which are being opposed. For example, right now, the bill says that even in preventive detention cases and for furnishing good behavior bonds, their biometrics will be taken. But sir, that is being opposed because they're not actually convicted, and many a times they may be innocent also. So,
okay. So you have studied agriculture and food processing.
Yes.
Can you tell me the biggest packaged atta brand of this country?
So if I may take a guess,
Of course, why not?
Ashirwad Atta.
Perfect. Your guess is 100% right. Which company it belongs to?
ITC, sir.
Perfect. ITC is a profit-making company. Okay, it is selling Ashirwad brand data. Yet the farmer who produces this wheat is always crying. So what is wrong with the value chain system that the company is making lots of money, and the guy who is giving the input is crying? What is wrong with the value chain?
Sir, very rightly pointed out. Actually, the farmer is able to get only 15% to 40% of the price that is actually paid by the consumer. So, sir, there's a huge value chain in the agriculture sector, and there are a lot of middlemen. Right now, all the wheat procured goes through the APMCs, and under the Act, the farmers are supposed to sell only to the APMCs within the notified market area. And so there are a lot of middlemen involved, a lot of steps involved. Because of it, the farmer is not able to get their due. But sir, right now government is promoting direct selling and FPOs. So when the farmer can directly sell to these big companies, they'll be able to get a bigger chunk.
But the problem that you are telling, recently government tried to solve these problems by bringing this farm laws, but they have to be taken back. How do you see that?
So the farm laws, I believe, were very good and progressive. But there were some oppositions from certain sections, especially if we see farmers from Punjab and Haryana, because there the MSP procurement system is very good, sir. And they wanted status quo on that, and they thought, and a lot of people connected to the value chain, like the logistics people, the middlemen, the Arhatyas, they were also opposing it, sir. But it is a very small section, sir, because only 5% of the farmers benefit from MSP actually. So overall, the laws were good, but I think there should have been more consultation with the farmers. That's what I think, sir.
What are the functions of stock markets? What are the functions of a stock market? What do they do?
So stock market is basically when companies list themselves on a public market and they raise funds from the public. So as an investor, I may buy shares and company gets more money, which they can again invest back into the company to in terms of capital investment and gain more profits. And even the investor gains in terms of wealth creation.
You are from Patna. Does Patna have a stock exchange?
So not a listed one because there is BSE and NSE, sir. So I'm not aware, sir, if Patna has a stock
Was
exchange.
at any point of time in Patna a stock exchange?
Sir, I'm not aware, sir. I'll read upon it, sir.
There was. Huh?
Sir.
Well, last question from me. Tell me one positive impact of Ukraine crisis in terms of economy and one negative impact in terms of economy of this Ukraine crisis.
So firstly, I'd like to talk about the negative impacts. Right now, since the region is an exporter of oil, the oil prices are going up. And apart from that, other commodities also like wheat is a good exporter of wheat. And semiconductors also, sir, it is a region of palladium and neon. So it affects supply chains. That is an issue. Sir, in terms of positives, I think it is an opportunity for India. to actually diversify its exports and grab that market. Otherwise, other countries, maybe China, may want to fill in the gap. So, and even in terms of, sir, medical infrastructure, I think we need to improve the medical colleges in our own country, and that is huge opportunity again, economically.
Which cadre your father is in?
Sir, Maharashtra cadre.
Oh. That's why you have given Maharashtra the first preference. Huh?
Sir, I have, yes, sir.
And you have tried to ensure that you never get Bihar. You would like to go back to Bihar.
Sir, if we select a cadre other than the home cadre, then the home cadre is not allotted, sir. In theory, in principle, I would like to work anywhere where I'm given.
No, but you have not given Bihar even the second
choice. We cannot give it. We cannot give it as a third choice. It will have to go to the last choice if you don't select the home cadre, sir. That was a compulsion.
Initially, if you don't get that, okay. Sir. But you were born in Bihar.
I was born in Patna and brought up all over Maharashtra.
Also, you were brought up all over Maharashtra. Okay. As a son of an IPS officer and an aspiring IPS officer,
sir,
you must have heard about police reforms.
Yes, sir.
What are the areas which immediately need reforms in policing?
So, firstly, I'd like to talk about the political interference.
That is not in your hand. As a police officer, suppose you are the subordinate police of a district, not from political leadership. As a subordinate police, you will be the leader of the district.
Sir.
So, what should attract the attention of the police leader immediately?
Sir, number one, I would say corruption, because public trust in the police has been going down. I think the trust deficit needs to be solved. Secondly, sir, I'd like to talk about sensitization of the police force, especially to gender issues. The women should feel safe coming to the police station, lodging the complaint. There should be CCTV cameras, there should be women constables.
But the biggest problem a normal citizen of this country faces when he goes to the police station, what is the biggest problem? His case is generally not registered, FIR is not generally registered, and he will always, he is scared of misbehavior from the policeman standing in front of him. So what will you do to redress these issues?
So number one, sensitization training is again needed. So number two, we have to have CCTV cameras to actually monitor them. And so number three, we can have better, we can reduce custodial violence to actually improve the trust of the people in the police.
There was a big scam in NSE.
So
what was it?
So the chairman of the NSE was said that she was taking orders from some mystic through
some Baba in the Himalayas.
Yes, sir. And she had appointed a person to a very high post and against the hierarchy. So that was the issue, sir. And information was leaking from the office to outside people, sir. Sorry.
The issue was not the appointment.
Sir.
The issue was information leaking to the beneficiaries who were taking advantage of it.
Sir.
How to plug this problem?
So, I think it is an issue of corporate governance, and we can have, in terms of corporate governance, we should have more independent directors, women directors. Secondly, sir, better accounting. And thirdly, better disclosure and transparency to the shareholders. This is what I think, sir.
Have you seen the film Kashmir Files?
No, sir.
Have you heard of it?
I've heard of it, sir.
What is your take on it?
So, there was an exodus of the Kashmiri Pandits because of violence in the state, and that has been highlighted, and it's good that such issues are coming into the limelight, I think so.
Recently, big scams, big corruption cases have come up in Bombay Police.
So,
Maharashtra Police, especially in Bombay Police. So how to combat this menace? Senior officers are involved, Commissioner Police, Director General Police. Senior officers are involved. So how to combat this menace?
So, number one was the issue that some officers were approaching the political leadership to get transfers and posting in certain areas. So number one, I think political interference can be reduced. We should have an establishment board as per the Prakash Singh judgment.
That on paper you already have. In Maharashtra also you have an establishment board.
Yes, sir. Yes,
sir. It is not functional.
Yes, sir.
Or not properly functional.
Yes, sir. So, and also, sir, the implementation part should be done properly to reduce political interference. And so, it is also seen that the police commissioner in Mumbai has a lot of power. So he actually assigned a person, Mr. Vase, against the hierarchy, and even the crime branch has power over the whole city. So we can do is, one suggestion can be to have 3 commissionerates like there in Hyderabad, which will actually maybe...
Mumbai should be trifurcated.
In terms of commissionerate, sir, because one crime branch having power over the whole city, and there are so many Tatas and Ambanis there.
But 3 crime branches, if they are not functioning properly,
Yes, sir.
they will be misused like one crime branch.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So basically,
So is it solely the responsibility of the politicians or of police officers also?
sir, I think we need reform on multiple levels. Number one, I think, sir, we should have more of technology to bring in transparency and accountability. Number two, sir, there should be people participation also. Because, sir, in Hong Kong, we have seen example of ICAC. What they did is they run public campaigns so that people could report even small instances of corruption there. So such cases can reduce the police asking for protection money, like Mr. Vaze did in the Ambani bomb scare case.
You have taken Sanskrit as an optional paper.
So,
Have you studied Sanskrit somewhere?
sir, I studied Sanskrit in school, but since childhood I've been interested in Sanskrit. I've been reciting shlokas, and even in my day-to-day life, I use Sanskrit shlokas for
There is a saying, I will say utter only the half of it and you complete it.
So,
Upma Kalidasasya,
Upma Kalidasasya, Bharve Arth Gauravam,
Bharve Rath Gauravam.
Bharve Arth Gauravam, Sir Dandina Padlalityam, Maghe Santi Trayoguna.
Very good.
Can you tell me some specific examples in terms of COVID management?
So, number one, I'd like to talk about the Arogya Setu app.
Okay.
So, that is for contact tracing, and even the vaccination was done through the app, and it is now
What was that app?
Arogya Setu, sir.
Okay.
So, secondly, I'd like to talk about because we started work from home and we moved towards telemedicine, tele-education. So, sir, there was an e-Sanjeevani portal. And sir, thirdly, I'd like to talk about IGOT platform, IGOT platform, through which the last mile service people were given training, sir, for COVID management.
Covin, you haven't heard of Covin app?
COVID app, sir. I'm so sorry,
Okay.
sir.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
All right. You started the ZEPCON, like you mentioned. Why didn't you thought about scaling it up? Why did you left out in the middle? I mean, I felt like it's a good idea. Could
Yes.
have, roped in other
Yes.
institutions and it could have really become a product. So why didn't you continue with that?
Sir, a startup in many terms has to be a founder's baby, and you have to nurture it. And for a lot of years, there's a lot of hardship, and it's a lifelong commitment, I would say. So since my childhood, I was very clear that I want to join the civil services.
Okay.
But whilst in college, I just saw a problem, and I'm a problem solver, sir. So that's what I did.
Okay. So you didn't approach any investor or...
We did, sir. We did approach a couple of B plans just to get an exposure, sir.
Okay. Do you know the difference between angel investor and a venture capitalist?
Yes.
Tell me.
So, angel investor is somebody who invests into the startup at a very early stage, even when there's no proof of concept. And usually, the angel investor is somebody known to the people, maybe family, friends, relatives, or other connections. So, they invest the seed, the initial money. And then when the idea, they have a working prototype, they may approach venture capitalists who may invest further in terms of seed funding.
And they invest their own money? Who invests their own money?
So,
Out of angel or...
usually the angel investor invests their own money.
Okay. All right.
Yes, sir.
You worked with housing. This is housing.com.
Housing.com, sir. Yes.
Okay. Can you... do you think that real estate sector in India involves a lot of, criminal activities and a front of, black money? Do you agree with this assessment?
Sir, yes, sir. There is lack of transparency and black money issue also is there, sir. Yeah.
And has the government taken any step in this regard? Any law or any rules?
Sir, a law that comes to my mind is RERA, RERA, Real Estate Regulation Act, sir.
So what are its key provisions? And do you think that it will be effective in curbing the flow of black money into real estate sector?
So, it is a step in the right direction, I would say. Some of the provisions are that the developers, they will have to register with the RERA. And they can, every time they have to keep the customer in the loop, the home buyers actually. So, there is also a system of grievance redressal, and these are some of the provisions. And sir, the states have their own RERAs. For example, in Maharashtra, there's Maharera. So it is a step in the right direction, I would say, definitely.
So is it applicable pan-India? Say, for example, Maharashtra, is it applicable only in Mumbai or Pune, or is it applicable even in a small district or a village?
Sir, as far as my knowledge goes, RERA is applicable all over the nation. But some states, since land is a state subject, some states have their own provisions, like Maharera for Maharashtra.
Okay, all right. So you have interest in reading about Indian mythology. What has been your biggest learning from Mahabharat? Have you read about Mahabharat?
Sir, I read the Bhagavad Gita, and there are a couple of learnings, I would say. For example, sir, it teaches us about equanimity. If I may recite a shloka.
Yes, please.
So it says, Matra sparshastu kaunteya shitoshna sukha dukkada agamapaino nityastam titikshasva bharata. Sir, so it means that when we come in contact with the material world, there is a lot of duality that hits us. So it may be in the form of heat and cold, joy and sorrow, but they are temporary. They will come and they will go. So one has to be sthit pragya or equanimous. So that is one of the teachings.
You just talked about duality. Some time ago, I had read one blog, actually. I had read it online only. It was talking about rules versus dharma. And Mahabharata is all about rules versus dharma. And one of the contention that the author was making was that Lord Krishna, he broke a lot of rules to uphold the dharma. You might face a similar situation in bureaucracy. So what will you do? You will uphold the rules or you will uphold the dharma? What would be your path?
So I would say that each time is different. The Ramayana's time was different. Shri Ram did not break any rules. Shri Krishna's time was different. He broke a lot of rules. And sir, today the times we live in, I would say as an administrative officer, my dharma, sir, there are different dharmas also, like Raj dharma for a king. So similarly, civil servant also has a dharma. And in terms of that, I think we have to follow rules because that is the whole structure of bureaucracy.
So even if it's about breaking the dharma, so say for example, the situation is very tense in a district and you have got the orders that don't do anything. Let the situation go worse. What will you do?
So there are communal situations?
Yeah, law and order situation. I'm not giving you just a general law and order situation. The directive from the political executive is that don't do anything.
Sir, so that directive has to be in a written form. There has to be file noting, etc. Because if it's a true directive, it's as per the dharma, then definitely I'll follow it. But sir, my main responsibility as an SP maybe is towards the people of my district and the safety of the district. I will be the sole person responsible, sir. So I will do whatever best I can do, sir.
You have done well. Thank you, Ramen. All the best.
All the best.